Hi friends, it's Jennifer with Jennifer at Home. I'm so happy you're here to visit with me today as we talk about etiquette. Etiquette is all about just being courteous and polite and friendly and respectful to others. It isn't hard, it's super easy, and it really could change someone's day. It could change the course of their entire day just by getting a smile or a wave or a greeting, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Just an acknowledgement could really change and make someone's day. So the next time you're out and about and you hear somebody sneeze, it would be such a nice thing to say, bless you, or to hold the door for somebody. Instead of racing someone to the door next time, maybe just race to the door and open it for them. That would probably really surprise them and make their day as well. Something really simple that people sometimes forget is when you sneeze or cough or yawn, make sure you turn away, cover your mouth, and then always say, excuse me. Sometimes we just take for granted people know that these things just happen, but it would be so nice if you said, excuse me, and made an effort to conceal or cover yourself from those type of things in public. Another thing I wanted to bring up was not yelling in public. People I've noticed have yelled across restaurants and picnics and parties and just screaming for someone across the room instead of just walking over to them and addressing them. They yell in a loud voice over everybody else, and it's just rude to yell and distract everybody from their conversations. When you see somebody, just walk over and talk to them. There's no need to scream across a store or a restaurant or even a parking lot to somebody. Just walk over and greet them. Another thing we have to deal with is when people are rude when they're driving, inconsiderate, reckless, and it's just best to get out of their way. Scoot over, let them go around, let them get on past us, because we don't know if they're trying to get to an emergency, if they have a crisis going on, if something's happened. So let's just give them grace, move over, let them go, and hope that they don't cause an accident. Something else we need to think about is if we have a coworker that calls off of work, when they come back the next day or whatever day they come back, we don't want to say to them, hey, where were you? What happened? What was going on? Were you sick? It's really none of our business. It's just best to say, hey, I missed you. I'm glad you're back. Hope everything's going okay. And just leave it at that, because it could be a very personal reason and they don't owe us an explanation, and they really probably don't want to discuss any of that with their coworkers anyway. Something else to consider is our language. Using bad words, curse words, anything of the sort is just not very appealing of anyone. So it's best to refrain from doing that and try to, if that's a habit you have, try to break that habit and move on from that. That's just not necessary, and it's much better if you can do without it. Now let's move on to something much more fun, an invitation. Getting an invitation to anything is always pretty exciting. But if you get an invitation, let's say to someone's house for dinner, it's always best to respond right away. Make sure you can go. Don't respond and then change your mind. Make sure you can go and attend their dinner or event or whatever they're having, and ask what you could bring. Find out if there's anything they'd like you to bring with them. And if they don't suggest anything, it'd be nice to think of a little treat to bring, maybe a little plant or a little box of chocolates or just something a little special for the hostess. It's not always a good idea to bring a great big bouquet of flowers that has to be dealt with when you go into the house. If you could bring something at all that's prearranged, that you don't have to make work for the hostess. You don't want to bring a task for them to do when they're already setting up and getting ready for the party. And if you do bring wine or a drink, it's always best if you could to bring it cold, and that way if they'd like to open it or serve it with the dinner, it's already cold and ready to go. So if you receive an invitation that has an RSVP card, make sure you fill it out properly and make sure you get it back in the mail promptly as quickly as you can, so that way you can be counted and your guest, or however many people the invitation is for. But remember, don't invite anyone else, and don't include anyone else's name or number on the RSVP card unless they're specifically invited and their name is enclosed, or the group, family, or whatever on the envelope. If you receive an invitation through email or texting or even a phone call or phone message, make sure you let them know as soon as you can that you will be attending. And also, when you get to their house, make sure that you go up to the door and look for the doorbell. Never go up and start pounding or knocking harshly on someone's door, especially if there's a little button there that's so easy to press and it's so pleasant to hear the doorbell. It's not pleasant at all for the host or hostess to hear someone pounding or banging on their door. That's just not necessary. Always be sure and check the dress code of the event. If it isn't something that you're accustomed to, a certain type of party or different type of gathering, make sure you check ahead of time. Check with the hostess. They won't mind at all if you ask them. If you send them a text message or give them a call or send them an email and just ask them. Just say, I've never been to an event like this before. What is the traditional dress code? And they'll be happy to share it with you. That way you will never be under or overdressed when you attend. Once you arrive at an event, make sure you put your phone on silent and put it away. Put it in a pocket or a purse, somewhere that it's not going to be distracting if it's going off. If you have anybody important that you want to hear from and that you're expecting to get a hold of you, make sure you let them know ahead of time that you're going to be at an event for the evening or for the day and that you'll check your messages when you're able to. Just let them know to leave a message and you'll check it as soon as you can. Also, if you have important people that may need to reach you, which I couldn't think of anyone more important than your own children. So if you have your children that maybe are at a babysitter or at a friend's house and you may need to pick them up or you're expecting that they may get a hold of you, be sure to let the hostess know. Say, I'm very sorry in advance, but I'll need to keep my phone with me. I'm expecting my child to reach me and I don't want to miss their call or their text. So that way they'll completely understand. But other than that, it's always best to put your phone away. And if you do need to check it, just go off to the restroom or slip off real quick and check it and be really fast about it. Don't be bringing your phone out at the table. Don't be looking at your watch or anything like that, because that is very distracting and it gives your hostess the signal that you're preoccupied with something else going on or that you have more important things you'd rather be doing than to be socializing with them at their event or their party. If you are out at an event or having dinner at someone's house or at a restaurant with friends having dinner and you do get that important phone call, take your phone quickly, say excuse me to the guests at the table, slip away as quick as you can, go take that call, and then promptly come back as quickly as you can and take your place. And don't forget to say, I'm sorry, I needed to take that call, or excuse me, I needed to take that call. And everyone will completely understand. Very important, when you're going to an event or a gathering or a party or dinner, always make sure you're on time. Be as punctual as you can be, because someone has prepared a meal or plans. They may have everything ready, and if you're late and you come straggling in, it would really throw off their schedule. So be as punctual as you can. It's just courteous and very respectful for the host and hostess if you're on time. When you're at an event or party, it's always very respectful if you don't talk about anyone else. If you don't have anything good to say, then just don't bring up that person. Don't mention them. If someone else is talking about somebody, please be sure not to comment. You don't want to comment on anything negative or bad or make it seem like you're agreeing with that person, especially if the comments are untrue or that you aren't informed about anything to do with that person or the topics they're relating to. So it's best just to never comment about anyone, just the same way you would never want anyone to comment negatively about you. When you're at a party or gathering or an event, you may see people that you know or that you have not seen for a while. It's always best to go up and to ask how they are and inquire about them. It's never polite to go up and take over the conversation and start filling them in about everything you've been doing and everything you have going on. If you haven't seen that person, it's always nice to inquire about them, because after all, we already know what's going on with ourselves, so why listen to ourselves repeat everything that we already know? It's so much nicer and more pleasant to hear somebody else tell us about what they have going on so that they can fill us in on how they are and what's happening in their lives. Before you go to an event, if you think that you may not be eating for a while, make sure you have a snack so that before you go, you're not getting hungry and irritable. And make sure you're not tired. Make sure you're well rested so that way you can have adequate posture. You want to sit up straight and stand up tall so that way when you're there visiting with guests or at the event, you don't look tired and sluggish and as if you don't want to even be there. That would be very disappointing to the host and hostess. And how about the topic of food? No, not sitting at the table, putting your elbows on the table. We all know those things. The topic of food I'm talking about is when I'm at the grocery store and I see somebody that I know, and they come over to greet me and say hello, and instantly start commenting on the food in my shopping cart. That's a personal thing. I can't even imagine why somebody would come over and start going through my shopping cart looking to see what I'm purchasing. That's a little odd. I've even had cashiers comment on my purchases, and instead of just ringing the things up, they start inquiring about things I'm buying at the store. That's a little strange. But most importantly is when I'm at work and I'm at lunch and I take out something from my lunch bag and coworkers start commenting on what I brought for lunch. If I have something that resembles a healthy meal, for somebody to say, "Oh, are you on a diet? What kind of diet are you on?" That's just rude to comment on other people's food. Or if somebody orders something in a restaurant, it's not polite at all to comment on what they're eating or how much they've eaten. That's just rude. So don't ever comment on other people's food, whether it's in their grocery cart, at the work table, or in a restaurant. Another thing to consider is I never like to borrow anything, but if you do happen to borrow something on a rare occasion from somebody and you want to use it, make sure you take it back promptly and take it in better condition than when you borrowed it. Make sure you take it and fill it up. If it's a lawnmower or a power tool or something of the sort, make sure if it takes gasoline that you fill it up with gasoline. If it has a battery, make sure you charge that battery. Get the battery charger as well so you can take it back fully charged and clean. Make sure you clean the items and take them back promptly and better condition than you borrowed them in. The last thing you want to do is have somebody coming to your house to retrieve anything that they're missing that you've borrowed. That just isn't polite at all. If they're good enough to let you borrow it, make sure you take it back as quickly as you can as soon as you have used it, and make sure it's in the best condition it can be in. Another thing that can really put a host or hostess on the spot, and I've had this happen to me before. I've invited company over and it was their first time. They had never been to my home before and I had fixed dinner. And as soon as they came in the door, the first thing they said was, "Well, give me a tour. Show me around. Where's the rest of the house?" And I'm just so happy that I was prepared. But if you aren't prepared and someone says something like that, don't feel obligated to start giving them a tour of every room in your house. That's just not a polite thing to do. If somebody perhaps has a new home or is having an open house for a new home or a housewarming party, even then, let the host or hostess suggest they give you a tour. Never invite yourself on a self-guided tour of anyone's home or expect the host or hostess to give you a full house tour. I only have a couple more tips for you on this video, friends. I want to make sure to remind you to always go whenever you've been at a party or an event or dinner, anything like that. Make sure you always go and thank the host or hostess. Make sure you let them know that you're leaving so they aren't looking for you later on in the evening, and let them know that you had a wonderful time, and be sure to thank them for inviting you. After you've been to an event or a dinner at someone's house, it's always a very nice thing to do to send them a text, an email, give them a phone call, write out a little note card and drop it in the mail just to let them know that you really do appreciate them thinking of you and inviting you to your event and that you really had a great time. This is all I have for you on this video, friends. I hope this was helpful and enjoyable, and if you did enjoy this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you check out my previous videos and watch for my upcoming videos as well.